Okay, I'll open the C4 Metro Subcommittee meeting on January 14th. Welcome everyone. Just for our guests, I'll go around the room here and ask just you all to say hello and introduce yourselves. I'm Paul Savas, Clackamas County Commissioner. Next on my screen, Councilor Callahan.
Good morning, Joshua Callahan from the city of Happy Valley.
Okay, Mr. Brashear.
Good morning, and thank you, Commissioner Savas. Dwight Brashear, I am the Transit Director for the City of Wilsonville.
Okay, Commissioner Mitchell.
Morning, Mike Mitchell, Oregon City Commissioner.
Okay, Councilor Pratt.
Valerie Pratt, 12th City Council President.
Thank you. Commissioner Helm.
Good morning, everyone. Commissioner Diana Helm, Clackamas County.
Okay. Mayor Milch.
Hope you can hear me. Michael Milch, Mayor of Gladstone. Something happened with my camera, so I'm temporarily off video.
Okay. We can hear you loud and clear. Next up is Councilor Anderson.
Councilor William Anderson, the city of Milwaukee.
Great. Thank you all for being here today. We are also joined by our staff, Trent Wilson, and our ever loyal and reliable Jamie Stasny. Jamie Lorenzini. I get those two mixed up. I wonder why. So Jamie, thank you. I guess I'll go ahead and introduce our guest, which I believe is our it's our TriMet, and I'll let those members, both Tom and John, introduce themselves, and they're going to talk about the TriMet budget service cuts proposal, outreach process, and so forth. So, Tom and John, the floor is yours.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Commissioner. Coming here today to talk with you all about something that we don't want to be doing, which is service cuts. As we've come to you before, we've talked with you about our budget situation and the actions that we're going to have to take to rectify that. Today, we're discussing with you some of the specifics about how we are proposing that we get to the service cut level that we need to reduce our budget deficit. I want to reiterate that these are not set in stone. This is a conversation that we would like to have with you all. Not a conversation that we would like to have, but we want it to be a conversation, and we want your honest feedback so we can talk about this. Commissioner, we hope that your family is well. If you have to step away, I know that you have other opportunities to talk with us about this, and I will make sure personally that we're filling you in on any questions that you have if you are not able to attend this entire meeting. Tom, I'm going to kick it off to you to discuss this, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you all have in this meeting and any follow-ups that are needed. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tom Mills. I am am I there? There we go. I am Tom Mills. I am the Director of Mobility Planning and Policy at TriMet. Are we ready to go into the presentation, or Commissioner Savas, did you have more business that you wanted to take care of before we start?
Oh, no. Go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. Great. Jamie, are we able to pull up the presentation?
Yes, I have guest sharing enabled.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
But I can also pull it up on my end if you prefer.
Do you mind pulling it up on your end?
I
didn't pull it up. I thought you were doing it.
No, I gotcha.
Thank you.
Trent, could I have you keep an eye on the attendees and promote people as needed?
Will do.
Thank you so much.
And just as a reminder, I was here in December talking to many of you who were able to attend about the level of service study that we had conducted with assistance from Clackamas County staff. So you may remember some of that.
Yes, and I have that document loading up now.
Here we go. Thank you so much, Jamie. Let's see. Loading. There we go. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Jamie. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, thank you. So as John has mentioned, and I think you've probably heard in the news, TriMet is facing some serious fiscal challenges, largely driven by four main things. One, of course, is inflation. I think we're probably all facing increased costs as a result of inflation. Our costs have gone up by 56% between 2019 and 2025. Additionally, we have a very large capital maintenance backlog, 700 million approximately. As you can imagine, the first segment of the Max line is 40 years old this year. Even when we think about the two segments in Clackamas County, the Green Line segment of the Max line is going to be 20 years old in just a few years in 2029. And the Orange line is already 10 years old. It's hard to believe. We don't get money from the federal government to replace this. So we need to start setting money aside in our budget to really start replacing pieces of the Max system throughout the region. Also, because of conditions that we're all facing in regards to safety and security, there's obviously a large substance abuse problem in the region. There is a mental health crisis in the region. We have really had to increase our safety and security budget. We have tripled that budget. We hope one day to be able to bring that down, but we're not there yet. So that has really driven our costs. And lastly, our fare revenue is down. The market has changed. It is no longer everyone getting up and going to work by transit or even driving to the office. They're working from home 2 or 3 days a week. In fact, here we are today. There was a time when we all used to meet together in person, and now we do it virtually. So fewer people are riding. Now, that's not to say that we don't provide a value. In FY25, we provided 65 million rides in the region. We expect that to grow this year. It'll probably be 66 to 67 million. But we're a long way off from the 92 million rides that we were providing in 2019. So that is also a driver of this deficit. Next slide, please. So we have been taking actions to try to address this. One is to try to increase ridership and in doing so, more fares. So we have been making, as I mentioned, we've been making historic investments in our safety and security and cleaning to make the system feel more welcoming to our customers. Many of you have heard me and others talk about the Forward Together project, where we said, look, we recognize people are not commuting to work by bus anymore, particularly to downtown Portland. Let's reallocate that service to areas of the region where people still are riding, particularly kind of our essential workers. And we've been somewhat successful with that, but it hasn't quite been enough to get the fare revenue back to where it once was. And then as you know, we've been active at the legislature advocating for transit through the transportation package. That package, of course, right now is in doubt. So, that hasn't quite panned out yet the way we had hoped. And we have increased fares of just a couple of years ago, and another fare increase is likely on the horizon. Next slide, please. So other actions we've taken, we've taken to reduce spending. So we announced our budget deficit in July, 300 million. It's important to note that 300 million is over the average shortfall over 20 years. So it includes inflation. It includes some growth that we had planned. And we've already cut that in half. So we've reduced it by 150 million. And that was largely from not doing those service changes, as well as other cuts we're making to internal expenses, particularly around staffing. We've laid people off already, and there are likely more to come. Next slide, please. So we have started making some service cuts. I really kind of refer to them as trimming. So in November, We kind of trimmed 5 lines later at night. We will be doing the same on a similar number of lines in March. Those are really small. They don't really amount to a lot. And so what we announced at the beginning of this year was a much larger proposal to make service cuts. Ultimately, we need to reduce our service by 10% between now and July 1 of 2028. Our goal is to balance our budget by July of 2028. So right now we're living off reserves, but or they're filling the gap, I should say. But ultimately, we want to have this budget balance by July 2028. Next slide, please. So some of you may be aware we had a survey that went out to the public asking the public, hey, how should we go about balancing this budget and cutting service? And we asked, a number of ways to do that. How, should we focus on frequency? How often the buses and trains arrive? How many hours a day of service do we provide? Coverage? Where should we be looking? Other considerations, partner services. Some of you may be familiar with the regional coordination program. Should we cut back on that? Of course, any cuts that we make to our fixed route service have impacts to our lift service, so we need to keep that in mind. And we need to really look to see, well, okay, yes, we can cut this, but does it really give us enough savings? And what is the impact on rides? Next slide, please. This slide is somewhat a repeat of the last slide. It's more of the specifics. So it really gives you a sense of all the options we looked at. I won't go through all of these. I kind of went through some of it just now, but I do want to highlight a couple. So the first one here says double the headway. The headway means the frequency of the service, so that lines that run every 30 minutes would run every 60 minutes, every 20 minutes would go to every 40 minutes. We actually did not even put this in the survey. So when people talk about a death spiral for transit, this is what they're talking about. If we go from every 30 minutes to 60-minute service, people will just stop riding, right? There's no point of even putting the line out there. So we kind of cut that out. And then we looked at other things, many of which were in the survey. A couple I want to highlight as well is the targeted network changes to reduce duplication. Duplication may be a strong word. They're not always necessarily on the same street together, but they're maybe within they're close to two lines that are close to operating towards one another. Maybe that's where we should look to reduce one of them. Why don't we go to the next slide? So during this outreach, it was largely online, but we did have, if I remember correctly, 8 or 9 open house meetings all over the region. We had nearly 5,000 responses, and there was strong support for focusing on those strategic network efficiencies, as well as the proposal to only run the Green Line Max between Clackamas Town Center and Gateway Transit Center. People wanted us to protect late night service, weekend service, and as much as possible, the frequent service. And there really was no difference between regions. So, like, if we compared what did people say in Clackamas County say versus what they said in Multnomah County versus what they said in Washington County, that everyone kind of said the same thing, told us to kind of concentrate our focus on the same items. Next slide, please. So the results of that process, as I mentioned, what people kind of said, cut this first and cut this last. They said cut first, the Green Line Max, have that only go between Clackamas Town Center and Gateway, and really focus on, as much as possible, those network changes. Kind of in the middle range was low ridership lines, really low ridership lines. Maybe we should consider eliminating them. And then lastly, what people said is we really don't want you to cut the frequent service, the max frequency, late night service, and weekend service. People felt like that was too vital. And I would tell you that the frequent service, both max and bus, is about 80% of our ridership. So it's really our core services. Next line, please. Or slide, please. Okay, so what we did is we took all those options and we ran them through a matrix. And so when you look at this matrix, green is good, red is bad, yellow is in between. And so, starting with, the green line, we said, okay, we can actually save a good amount of money if we just run it between Clackamas Town Center and Gateway. Comparatively, the number of rides that we impact would be relatively low. But next we looked at the degree of impact, right? So, there's a difference between a line completely going away and a line where the frequency changes. A line that goes away for good, the degree of impact is higher because there's not another bus coming, whereas a frequency impact, the degree of impact is lower. Then, of course, we looked at our survey. And then in some cases, we looked at a job access analysis. So let me actually try and let me do another impact. I'll look at, this frequent service bus going every 17 and a half minutes, going from 15 minutes to every 17 and a half minutes. Saves a lot of money, but it impacts a lot of rides. Like I said, our core ridership, on the bus side, it's about 70% of our ridership is riding frequent service bus. Uh, the degree of impact is relatively low, right? Because there's still another bus coming. But people said in the survey, don't do that. And then when we looked at job access, what we did with job access is we said, well, how many jobs can someone get to within 45 minutes today when the bus runs every 15 minutes versus a future when it runs less frequently? And we noticed that that impact was bigger than some of the other options that we had. So that's why that's marked in red. So we did this for everything. You can see, some things, there weren't a lot of savings, but they really didn't impact a lot of people. The degree of impact sometimes was high. And then you can kind of see what the survey showed. Next slide, please. So based on that, we developed a proposal that has been released to the public. And let me go through what it is here, and then we're going to go more specifically line by line in Clackamas County. So the first line are those trimmings that I mentioned previously. So it includes the cuts we did in November, as well as the cuts we're going to be doing in March. The next is the green line, only going from Clackamas Town Center to Gateway Transit Center. So you can see there's a lot of green on this one, and people said cut that one first. The next are the targeted network changes. Again, similarly, there's a lot of green on this. And I would tell you that this proposal is highly weighted towards these two. Most of this proposal are these two scenarios right here, more than half of it. Now, we did include some of eliminating low ridership, some later night frequency, and some lines that have service in the middle of the day, but really mostly students are riding those. Students are riding those to school, and the rest of the trips are really not very crowded, and people have other options. So we included those as well. In these last three, it's just a handful of lines. And like I said, most of this proposal is focused on the green line and those targeted network changes. Now, if you remember, we said that our goal is to cut 10% of service. This proposal right now is only about 6.5 percentage points of that 10%. So we're not proposing all the way yet to 10%. We have to get to 10% by July 1 of 2028. So that gives us another year to make further cuts, which we will be doing in the next year. And we will be going to the public in fall of 26 to talk about those. And to be honest with you, we don't have that list developed yet. We're still working on that. But right now, this proposal doesn't get us to the 10%. It's more than halfway there, but doesn't get us all the way there. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's kind of get into the specifics here and what it really means for Clackamas County. So starting with the green line max, and you can see on the left is the current network, and on the right is what we're proposing. And whenever we do a proposed, our graphics people put the proposals in dotted lines instead of solid lines. Not really sure why, but in any case, so you can see here the green line on the right would only go between Clackamas Town Center and Gateway. What this means is that if you're riding through to go west towards downtown, you would have to transfer at Gateway. Um, However, it's important to note that nearly, and you can see in the map, nearly every MAX line on the green line either has service today uh, that will take you west towards downtown and in some cases northwest. Or we are going, as part of this proposal, we'll be routing new service to those, as part of these network changes, we'll be routing service to those stations. And in many cases, it actually is faster to take a bus than it is to go all the way north to Gateway. And then even today, faster to take a bus than it is to take the Green Line all the way to downtown, especially if your destination is something like PSU. Next slide, please. Okay, another proposal is line 33. We call this short lining. It's when a bus line, all day long serves the entire line, but maybe, towards at night when ridership is lower, we don't go all the way to the end of the line on every trip. We turn some trips around, and it's a way to kind of save money and really right size the service to the level of demand. And that's what we're suggesting here is line 33 McLaughlin. It's a frequent service line. It runs every 15 minutes all day long. However, the majority of the ridership is along McLaughlin and not King Road. And so we're saying after 8 p.m., service on King Road would only come every 60 minutes instead of every 15 minutes. So it's every fourth bus would serve King Road and go all the way to Clackamas Town Center. Next slide. Okay, now I'll warn you, we start to get into a little bit of spaghetti on some of these, and I'll just walk you through all of it. So again, focusing on line 33, McLaughlin King Road, that's the green line. And then just to the east of that is line 32, that kind of brighter red line. And then to the west is line 34, River Road. That's the maroon line. When looking at the current network on the left, what you notice is that line 32 is really close to line 33 in the northern part of the line. And then you'll notice on line 34, the maroon line, as that gets close to Gladstone, it is also really close to line 33. In fact, I'll bet you a lot of these residents in these areas are choosing to walk to McLaughlin and ride the 33 over the other two lines because it just comes more frequently. It comes every 15 minutes. So the proposal, if you look over to the right, the proposal is for line 32 to go away, discontinue line 32, and we would have in those areas where people live close, where the streets come like Oakfield Road or River Road, where they're close to McLaughlin, well, people could probably walk to McLaughlin and take the 33. And then in those areas where on River Road and Oakfield that are further away from McLaughlin, well, they would have service, and we would call it line 34. And so you could see it kind of cuts over and covers line 34 in Gladstone, particularly kind of the eastern part of Gladstone. The other change is up in the north, and this is not really a significant change. It doesn't actually even save us money. It's having the line 40, which goes to downtown Portland, take over for the line 34 on Johnson Creek Boulevard and down to Linwood, to Harmony, to Clackamas Town Center. And the reason to do that, again, is one of those where I said we want to have as many stations, max Green Line stations as possible that have bus service to take people downtown. So they have that option if they don't want to ride the max to Gateway and transfer. So this would allow a one-seat ride from Gateway Transit Center on the bus to downtown.
Tom, before you switch slides here, can I just point something out here?
Yes, please.
Yeah. I know these maps kind of show this in really kind of one dimension, as though this is flat lands like it is in most of Portland. But the word you used earlier that people would probably just choose to walk to McLaughlin, that means uphill or downhill. This is an area that is t topographically challenged.
Hmm.
So these maps don't show that, and a quarter mile um, is a typical measurement for access. But you put that on a slope, and that quarter mile to a person or an incentive or disincentive to walk it, let alone depending on their age, their ability to walk it is terribly compromised. So I just want to point that out, and I didn't want to interrupt. I usually want people to go through their presentation, but
Sure.
that's not really being factored in here in your presentation.
Yeah, and yeah, you're right, and that's a good point, and thank you for pointing that out, and that's why we have these outreach processes. I do want to make sure you all know that, and I'll be talking about this later. This is not the final proposal. Based on what we hear, we're going to be making revisions to the proposal. So thank you for that. Um, Next slide, please. Okay, I warned you. There's some spaghetti here. So the main thing to notice on this slide is on the left, we have line 152, that orange line, which goes on International Way, serving the Milwaukee industrial area. And then on River, excuse me, not on River Road, we have line 29, and you can see it goes. Oh, I'm spacing on the road. Uh, but it goes south to Roots Road and up Johnson. It goes over to Oatsfield to Roots to Johnson. What we're suggesting is moving the line 29 to take over for the line 152 Lake Road, excuse me, on Lake Road, and takes over for line 152 on International Way, and then it cuts back down to Lake Road, and then it takes Johnson all the way up. You'll also notice line 31, which is that magenta line, that duplicate. When you look at the current, it duplicates line 29 Lake Road on Oatfield. Well, we don't need two lines there, right? We can have line 31 do that. And then line 30, which is the Estacada line, when it gets to the highway there, it just takes the highway into Clackamas Town Center. What we're suggesting is moving that over to take over for Johnson Road there. Lastly, line 156, which in the current network on the left is kind of that uh, mustard color line. We're connecting that to line 29. So it would be one line going from Happy Valley all the way to Milwaukee. There is a slight change there. You can see in the current, there is a bump and we kind of flatten it out there. And I'm forgetting the street there, but just to kind of make that a little more efficient. So that's what we're proposing. Again, that is one of the more complicated ones for Clackamas County. Next slide, please. Okay, I want to apologize. We're using some different map styles in some of these, so it's a little different here. But over on the left, I mentioned earlier that line 32 is proposed to go away. And so you see here on the left, line 32, besides it serving Oak Grove, it also serves Oregon City. And it goes over to Providence Medical Center and eventually down to Oregon City High School and Clackamas Community College, where it ends. If line 32 goes away, we need to make up for that service. So line 31, which comes from Clackamas Town Center, could come down and make up for that service. Now, we also do a little bit of a switch here. So you see line 33, which on the left is that kind of maroon, that pinkish line. That is a frequent service line, comes every 15 minutes. That's on Lynn Road. And the 32 is on Malala. Well, Malala really is the kind of more commercial district, and you would want to have the more frequent line on that. So we actually, when you look over to the right, we move that line 33 over to Malala, and we have the line 31 take over for the Lynn Road portion. So that's the main change there. Next slide, please. Okay, I think we're close to the end here. This is on the left, you see our line 20 up in Portland and going to Beaverton. And then you see our line 76, which goes from Beaverton to Tualatin. And then every fourth trip continues on to Oregon City. The truth of the matter is, we just haven't been getting the rides on the extension to Oregon City. For every hour of service we're out there, we're getting 4 boardings per hour. And I suspect some of that might be the bus operator getting on the bus. We just aren't getting, and none of this should be surprising, right? This is going through Stafford, which is undeveloped, and it's also on the freeway. You can't pick anyone up on when you're on the freeway. It does go through Westland, but then it goes along the Willamette Falls Drive, which, on one side is the freeway and the other side is an embankment down to the river. So there's really no development there. It really requires, in order for this to be successful, it requires a lot of people wanting to travel from downtown Oregon City to Tualatin or and onward, or vice versa. And we're just not seeing the rides. So we're recommending that extension between Tualatin and Oregon City just be discontinued. Next slide, please. And I think this is the last one. Similarly, line 153, this is the one line in Clackamas County that we are recommending that we go away, and we don't have an easy replacement for it. So when we go back to 2019, before the pandemic, our service standard for what a low ridership bus line was any line that gets 15 boardings per vehicle hour or less. Now, I should clarify, a vehicle hour is every hour the bus is out of the bus yard. So it includes deadhead and it includes the layover. Another way to think about it is every hour that we're paying for a bus operator. So if in 2019, if it got 15 boardings or less per vehicle hour, it was considered a low ridership line. In 2024, we rewrote our service standards because we recognized, hey, the market has changed. We're kind of expecting too much for some of these bus lines. We're going to lower it to 8 boardings per vehicle hour. For this effort, for this kind of service cuts effort, we lowered it even further to 6 boardings per vehicle hour. And that left us with 3 lines that were below that level. And there was one in each county, one in Gresham, one in West Lynn, and one in Tualatin. Line 153 gets 2 boardings per vehicle hour. It really isn't overly surprising. It's traveling again through parts of Stafford that are undeveloped. It's traveling through West Lynn, which is not a high density community. It just doesn't, there's just not enough people on the line to be able to support it who would ride transit. And so we are recommending that this bus line discontinue. Next slide, please. So with anytime we make a major change, the federal law requires us to assess whether the change has a disproportionate burden on low-income riders and a disparate impact on minority communities. And we have done that assessment, and we are in compliance. So we do not provide a disproportionate burden or disparate impact on low-income or minority communities. I should also say we also have to assess whether it's a disproportionate benefit to high-income communities and whether there's also a high benefit for non-minority communities. And in both cases, we're in compliance. Next slide. Also, with this service change, we wanted to look at, well, what would the impact be to the lift boundary and lift rides? As you can see in this map, I apologize, the map's a little difficult to read. So what is showing that black bound, so actually the pink boundary is TriMet's service district. And the black boundary is TriMet's lift boundary. So the way it works is that federal law ADA requires TriMet to provide complimentary paratransit service within 3/4 of a mile of all of our bus and max lines. So if you measure out 3/4 of a mile from every line and you draw a boundary around it, that's what you see in that black line. However, with the three lines that we're recommending that be discontinued, the one in Gresham, West Lynn, Tualatin, along with not continuing the 76 between Tualatin and Oregon City, that would shrink our boundary. And you can see in those colored areas, those areas are the pink area and the light green and the yellow area in kind of the Stafford area, and then the darker green in Gresham. Those are areas where the lift boundary would shrink and we would not be able to provide lift rides anymore. Now you can also see in the map kind of those dark circles, and that's where the biggest lift demand is taking place. And so when you look in those colored areas, you do not see dark circles. So we're not impacting a large number of rides. Just to be more clear, in FY25, we provided 747,000 rides. In these areas, we provided just over 2,400 rides. That's less than 0.5%. I know we're getting close on time, so I'm going to speed through the next few slides. Okay, so our proposal, so we're in the comment period right now. We're going to revise the proposal. We have a listening session with our board on March 18th. The next week is the first reading on and public hearing on the proposal. And then in April is the vote. These service cuts would go into effect in August. I know previously we were planning November. We decided August because there are a number of schools. We want to time them for when schools start so that students riding the bus to school don't have to change their commute in the middle of the year. Next slide. And our January outreach, we're having open houses. They just started yesterday, the online open houses. We're going to have in-person open houses. There's a web page, email, social media, pushing this all out. Next slide. And we have already 3,500 surveys taken. Here are the open houses. We'll have one at the Clackamas Community College in Oregon City, as well as one in Tualatin Library and Clackamas Community College in Milwaukee. Next slide, please. And then I mentioned the online open houses. The first one was yesterday, one tonight, and one on Saturday. And next slide. I think that's about it. Yep. Thank you. So, and I want to thank Jamie for writing the slides for me. I appreciate it. I didn't have those pulled up. I'm sorry about that. And I'm opening it up for questions.
Great. Thank you, Tom. I see we have a couple hands up, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of conversation here. I want to point out that each of those maps that you showed, Tom, has either topography challenges or are in areas where there's geographic barriers, rivers or cliffs or whatnot, as well as a lack of a grid structure like Portland. So I'm sure you know Clackamas County. I'm happy to give you a tour, Tom. I think John could join us, and I could take you to some areas where I challenge you to walk, really, to a bus line and tell me if you really think that's actually access. That said, I just want to again just point that out. So first up is Counselor Pratt.
Thank you for the presentation, Tom. I'm gonna hit on your last item with the lift service cuts because that disproportionately affects my neighbors. And I, I get that you don't have to service this area, but and you say, oh, it's only under 2,500 people, but these are people that don't have any other access. They depend on this, so I would like just implore you to reconsider because these are people in most need. A lot of them don't have vehicles as a second option. And then my other question is, I'm just flummoxed that you have a $700 million capital maintenance backlog, and that didn't happen over a few years with reduced fares. And I'm just wondering how that happened, the fiscal responsibility of TriMet and safety concerns we might have on the buses people are riding.
Sure. Let me first start with Lyft. You're right. It's obviously always difficult anytime we cut service and we impact Lyft. We don't, we recognize people rely on us. With regard to Tualatin, and I'm not, I obviously don't know where every single person who rides Lyft uh, lives, but in that area, we do support the Tualatin shuttle. And so that could be an option for some of those riders. Again, I don't know their specific circumstances and where they're trying to get to. Even if they ride the Tualatin shuttle into the rest of the lift boundary, they can then get lift to go further should they
I,
need to go a
I'm
longer distance.
specifically referring to your map, and it shows the Stafford area
Oh, okay.
where you're
Okay.
cutting the 76.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I understand. Um, and then with regard to the $700 million maintenance backlog, I obviously am not the expert on that. That is, on our capital side. But it's a kind of a hard thing. You build. I'm using Max. There's obviously more than just Max, but I'll use Max as an example. You build a Max line, and uh, you know you're not going to start replacing pieces. 5 years, 10 years later, you really need to start. They need to be worn down before you replace them. It's very expensive, and so I imagine we tried to max out as much as we could until until we had to start replacing. And anyone who rides Max today knows we've already started doing this. There have been times when we shut down the Max for 2 weeks, sometimes even a month, to get work done. And unfortunately, we have to do more of this. So similar if you've been to like a big city like New York or Chicago or whatever, and you go to the subway and oh, the station's closed. We are now at that phase where we have to start replacing things.
And Councilor Pratt, just to chime in very quickly, we actually do know exactly where the people who are affected by the lift changes are, and our lift team is working with them directly to talk about impacts and identify alternatives. There are alternatives for them in many cases, or ways that we can figure out access for them, like say if they can just cross the street and then they're within the boundary, that's within their capability and a way that we can keep them on the lift system. So we're contacting those people directly and working with them. I also just want to say there's no safety issue. When we talk about a maintenance backlog, it's not deferred maintenance. It's not like we're not doing maintenance that needs to happen. It's just that this is the amount of maintenance that needs to be done in the future, and we are making sure that our budget is ready to accommodate it. And unfortunately, there's a lot of it that is coming up at this time.
And I'll just add, it's not $700 million that needs to be done today. It's over the next 30 or over the next 20 years.
Right.
Okay, the word backlog kind of threw me in.
Sure.
And then I guess, like, do you guys, like, I mean, at the city, we tried to build reserves for things like this. So is TriMet doing that? For maintenance is coming. I mean, it might take 10 years till you need to fix a line, but it's coming.
We have a large amount of reserves. We still have a large amount of reserves, and that is what we are currently working through right now as we have our budget deficit. So we are actually addressing this budget deficit now so that this doesn't get worse and we have to make more drastic cuts in the future. So that is what we are doing right now, Counselor.
Okay, thank you.
So to that point, are you saying that the backlog is subtracted from the reserves, or is it basically the same number that balance out?
I don't
Which
know
is
how
it?
to I don't know how to answer that question specifically, Commissioner. I'd have to talk with some of our finance folks just to make sure I don't give you wrong information when we're talking about really technical stuff like that. But I'm happy to chat with you, and we can talk with Michael Doan and figure that out.
Okay. Again, we're a little bit behind, and we still have another presentation to go here on this topic. So, not this topic, but Mayor O'Neill, you're next.
Thank you. First of all, Tom and John, I've seen this presentation now twice. I serve on WCCC, so I appreciate your armor must be dented by this time. I understand you're the face of TriMet. I thank you for being able to come present. I have questions about line 96. I think the mayor of Sherwood, mayor of Tualatin articulated concerns they have. I join in those concerns and I remain quiet during that presentation. 96 is a critical connection with SMART. And I'd like you to discuss those changes and then I have a quick follow-up comment.
Sure, thank you. So Line 96, for those who may not know, it operates local service from Commerce Circle in Wilsonville along Boones Ferry Road through downtown Tualatin up to the Tualatin Park and Ride in Bridgeport, and then it hops on I-5 and it goes to downtown Portland. It operates service all day long, approximately every 30 to 45 minutes. What we are proposing to do, and much of this proposal has been out there for a couple of years now, is to actually take line 96 off the freeway. So it would still serve Wilsonville, it would still serve downtown Tualatin. It just wouldn't get on the freeway. What it would do is it would stay on Boones Ferry Road. It would travel through Lake Grove. It would then go through Mountain Park, and then serve TriMet's Capital Highways, so PCC, and then it would serve Barber Transit Center. From Barber Transit Center, it would operate limited stop service. So it would only, stop like maybe 3 times and it'd get into downtown. So we'd kind of make up some of that travel time that we lost by operating local service on Boones Ferry and through Mountain Park. We are proposing eliminating the middle of the day service because we don't really get much ridership during that time. It's mostly a commuter route. It does add some extra time to the trip. It adds about 15 minutes to the trip, but it allows us to serve Lake Grove. It provides a downtown service from Lake Grove and Mountain Park. So from that standpoint, there is an improvement for Clackamas County riders. But also, though, we would eliminate line 37, which is the Lake Grove line today, because this would replace it. Again, trying to kind of serve, the same areas with one line instead of 2 lines, right? We're looking for those efficiencies. And so that's the thinking behind it.
Okay, my thought is, 96 as it stands now, is my understanding, is an express line. And it gets people that utilize SMART onto your line and gets them downtown a lot quicker. You're rephrasing it to suggest that it's only a 15-minute change. I take issue with that. And I think that when it comes to community reach out, I don't think, in my opinion, that TriMet took an opportunity to truly explore the communities that utilize connections from their transit, it'd be SMART or outside, to TriMet. I think you ignored us. You focused on TriMet within the TriMet district. And I personally, I don't know how to say this politically right. I'm still a year in as mayor, but to me, I can't tell what I'm upset with more, the Oregon Department of Transportation or TriMet. To me, they're at the bottom of the food chain. So thank you. You're just making SMART be the most exemplary transit line in the nation. Keep up the good work and tarnishing your reputation. Thanks.
Mayor Milch.
Mayor, before we move on very quickly, I just want to say, Mayor O'Neill, I'm not sure exactly that I'm understanding what the criticism is of our communications, and we're happy to address any issues that you have or change our communications as you see necessary. But we would ask that you reach out to me or someone else at TriMet to let us know what you need. We're happy to do that.
We have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Milch.
Well, I just want to say thank you for the nimbleness on which by which you've addressed some of these issues. I thought you were still soliciting public opinion, and you've incorporated public opinion in making some of these decisions. And when I looked at some of the maps that there are about 5 TriMet bus routes that go through my city, and 3 or 4 of them are affected by some of these changes. But if I were in your position and wanting to make the network efficiencies that you're doing, I think I would do them in exactly the way that you proposed here, combining lines that seemed a little bit close and duplicative. So I'm pleased that, not that you're in the place you're in and this has to be done, but in the way that you're doing it and the thoughtful approach that you have to achieving some of these efficiencies. I understand Commissioner Savis's comments about the topography challenges, but at the same time, you've chosen to put that new proposed change 34 route going on Concord, which is really the hottest street right now in Oak Grove, with the new library, the new community center, the new park, a Walgreens, a Trader Joe's. That was a smart place. You had all kinds of options of where to cut across, and that was a good one to choose. So I think there's some thought going into this, and it is in response to public input. And as challenging as it is, and as quickly as the bottom fell out of the statewide transportation project, I'm glad that you've responded in such a prompt way.
Thank you, Mayor Milch.
I have a comment, but Jamie, I see your hand up.
Yeah, just very briefly, since I know we're short on time, I also want to acknowledge, because I didn't hear this in the presentation, that TriMet also came to CTAC last week on Thursday, which is the staff technical group that supports C4, and it's comprised of your jurisdictional staff. Tom, could you remind me, what is the deadline to submit feedback if cities would like to do that within your comment window?
January 31st.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tom, and I know at least John, Sarah's heard this, and a number of folks here in this Zoom room have heard this from me before, but I'm going to expand slightly on it. My first committee one of the first committees I sat on was a TriMet committee way back 1999, I believe. And at that time we had, and we still do, we have people that come and go that have expertise and, been nationally recognized for transit, transportation, all engineers, people that do this, have done this for a living for their entire lives, come and go through the Oak Grove area or the Milwaukee area, wherever it may be, and opine about what the fix is for this unique area, Clackamas County, right? Apparently District 7, which is, topographically challenged, lack of a grid structure, and the prescription from all these people has been consistent. Shuttles are the answer to get people down to the main lines. So if the shuttles cost a fraction of the price to run and can get more ridership on your main lines, increase your fare revenue, it seems wiser to run shuttles in these topographically challenged areas or lack of grid structure to get people to your main lines. And it seems like a win-win. If these people are telling us for over 25 years that that's the solution, and we're still not there, I just don't understand how or why TriMet is not more nimble and not opening their doors or opportunities to allow that to take place and fund it. You can fund it for a fraction of the price. And I challenge anyone. I mean, the reason I bring that up, I mean, I forgot the line you mentioned, 33, but I challenge anyone to go from 99E to Providence, Oregon City. Try and walk that. Matter of fact, I ask any of you to try to go from the bus facility on 99E and walk up to Providence, Oregon City, Willamette Falls. And I think that will tell the story, and that's not uncommon to West Lynn, Lake Oswego, Stafford, so on. It's just the 40-foot bus is not the answer. Uh, Anyhow, I see no other further comments. We're going to recalibrate the agenda here today. I'm going to shift things around by my advice of Jamie Lorenzini, and we're going to go to our MPAC updates. And I guess first up is Commissioner Helm, MPAC officers update.
Make sure I'm off of mute here. Sorry. Impact. I just so you all know, Brett Sherman yesterday nominated me for second vice chair. So I guess I'm in the rotation now for Impact, which I appreciate, but I'm not sure I appreciate. It's one of those time challenges that we're going to have to deal with this year. The last time we chatted for Impact, it was the SHS reform passed through Metro Council. It strengthens their oversight, their regional coordination, and streamlines their process. Let's see, they're working on their 2040 planning and development and the grants program update. And there will be another meeting coming up shortly, and I will probably have more. Their December meeting was a bit of a repeat of the previous meeting, so there's not a whole lot of new to report there, unless anyone else has anything to chime in.
Okay. Seeing none. Commissioner Helm, does that conclude your presentation or your
Yeah.
update? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Next up is supporting housing services check-in. I guess we have our presenters are Liam and Alice from Metro.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning, councilors, commissioners, council president, Mr. Mayors. This is my first time here at C4. We're here to talk about homelessness and supportive housing services in particular. We've been invited by Jamie to provide you with a preview, a short preview of what we're presenting to MPAC. Historically, we've come to MPAC about once a year to provide an update on SHS. We've up until now had two other advisory bodies specifically providing input on the SHS program itself. And so MPAC has been more of an interest in our work, and we've been happy to provide that information because I do think it's critical that the safety net that SHS represents is able to inform some of the land use and other policy decisions that are made at MPAC to prevent people from falling into homelessness. Just a quick historical recap. SHS was passed in May 2020. We've been going with the three counties, Clackamas, Washington, and Multnomah County, for about 5 years. I cannot overemphasize enough that this is unprecedented structural construction in terms of homeless services infrastructure. Even in Multnomah County, which was well-resourced for a long time, I would say there really wasn't a consistent system to begin with. It was a patchwork of well-meaning, well-intentioned individuals and organizations. SHS has afforded us the opportunity to build a strong infrastructure, and we've learned a lot in the first 5 years, which has led up to the last council meeting, or the penultimate council meeting last year, wherein Metro Council passed 5 overall reforms to the system, mainly bureaucratic, but I think you all will be very interested in the governance piece of it, and we're going to move on. And we've only got about 5 slides, so we'll be very quick here, I promise. Again, on December 16th, Metro Council passed a series of reforms. We'll go into that in a second. Largely administrative, not substantive. We defer and delegate to the counties to provide plans and planning in response to local needs. Clackamas's needs are very different than Multnomah County's needs, for example. We're going to move on to the next slide, please, Alice. Here's the kind of 5 buckets of reform actions that we've moved. And They're really informed definitely by what we've learned with our counterparts in the three counties over the last 5 years, but also through a series of stakeholder meetings over the past 2 years. One that was sponsored by our COO, Marisa Madrigal, and then most recently our council president, Lynn Peterson, at the beginning of this year. We did a lot of outreach with our folks across the three counties to ensure that we were aligned. The last thing we want is duplication or redundancy. Sometimes redundancy is good in the system. In this case, we want to be very precise, targeted, and specific around ensuring the system is efficient and is delivering a consistent level of service across all three counties. Top of mind here is governance. As I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, we have had two committees that have provided oversight and policy direction. That, as you see here, it's the SHS Oversight Committee, and then the TCBB stands for the Tri-County Planning Body. We have proposed, and Metro Council has approved, a consolidation of those committees into one. That committee will be launching in April. The composition of the committees is important to note here. On the Oversight Committee, it included 4 elected officials. Sorry, 5 elected officials, one from Metro, a commissioner or a chair from each of the counties, and then a representative from the city of Portland. None of them had any voting rights. There is going to be a change in this new committee where all elected officials will have voting rights, and elected officials will be the majority of the council. Of the oversight. Of the committee. My apologies. And we can dive into that too if you have any questions. And we'll be talking about this more at length at MPAC. Secondly, there was a carve out from the SHS revenue, 5%. For regional investments. They were specifically intended to improve a region-wide system, coordination, alignment, for the end goal of having consistent services for folks who need them. We've been not exactly successful in making sure that that has been a robust system. We have the opportunity now to improve that, and we will also be launching a new framework for the regional investments beginning in April at the guidance of this new committee. We've updated our key performance indicators as a region and a new set of goals. The goals that we inherited from 2020 largely reflect what was happening in 2020. Times have changed. We are now developing new goals for approval by this new committee in April. Number 4, a data dashboard to provide transparency to anybody that has an interest in how homeless services are being deployed, how effective they are, and also, most importantly for taxpayers, how their dollars are being spent and if those dollars are being spent effectively. That dashboard we intend to have up and running by the end of this calendar year. The 5th one, bureaucrats really love a good admin rule, but as you all know, as elected officials, this is really where the rubber meets the road, ensuring that the policies that are passed through legislation are actually enacted and can be we can hold the participants and the recipients of funding accountable. And so from here on in, our programmatic definitions and guidelines, and let me be more specific to give you an example. So we invest in permanent supportive housing, a type of housing that provides wraparound services and rental assistance for folks who desperately need it. We have a number of different, sometimes conflicting definitions for permanent supportive housing. We want to provide one definition that each county and then the providers that counties support and fund can adhere to. Next slide, please, Alice. Here's a quick snapshot of the work plan timeline. We work in quarters and fiscal years. I don't think that's going to be any difficulty for you all to translate, but for the general public, we may want to use actual months of the year here. But I think the big deal for us is launching this new committee and then guiding all the other pieces in service of that new committee from April onwards. And we can send this slide deck to you too. And then moving on to the next slide, last slide, number 5. This describes this new committee that I've been talking about here, consolidating the 2 existing committees and its responsibilities for oversight, accountability, and then also policy direction in response to regional needs. We've expanded the membership to 22. As I said, the majority of members will be elected officials from around the region, and we can go into that should you want to in a second here. And then we have a set of non-voting members too, representative from Oregon Housing Community Services, TriMet, philanthropic representative, and then a housing provider, which is traditionally a community development corporation that builds affordable housing in the region. So that is the preview that we're providing. We're going to obviously provide a much lengthier presentation at Impact, but Jamie invited us to provide you all with a preview at C4 here. And so I don't know, Commissioner Savas, if there's time for Q&A. I'm happy to take some questions now. I also want to make it clear that I'm open to meeting with any one of you or returning to C4 for a longer conversation and dialogue, should you want that. So I will take a step back, and I see a hand up.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a couple questions and comments. Mayor Milch.
Liam, I appreciated that you made a distinction between bureaucrats and elected officials. My problem sometimes with reports that we get from Metro is they are written in bureaucratic language. I want to tell you, I looked at the 22-page report that's included in our packet on this issue, and it is the best, most clearly written, simple to understand, easy to understand report I've seen come out of Metro in some time. I don't know if you have somebody new doing it, somebody different doing it, or if you put it through an AI and say, give me something that an elected official can understand for a 7:30 a.m. meeting. But I just want to compliment you on that. It goes into a lot more detail, and it lays out some of those performance indicators and economic indicators that are vital to making some of your decisions in a very clear and organized way. And so I'm grateful to you for putting together a really good report.
Mayor Milch, that means the world to us. That person's name is Alice Hodge. She's a miracle worker, and we're very glad to have her.
That's one of the nicest compliments I think I've ever gotten. Thank you so much.
A good way to start the day. I will say that Mayor Milch, the Metro Housing Department, is pretty much still brand new. We're about 2-3 years old. It's incredibly important to me, Alice, and our leadership that what we are doing is communicatable to the public. That means effective communication. I'm not interested in bureaucratic speak. I'm interested in getting my point across. So thank you very much. This is fantastic feedback. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. This is a big topic. That's probably comes as no surprise to any and all of you. And I take a little bit of pride in the fact that, we have, we're doing a pretty decent job, I think, with the additional resources that the supportive housing services measure provides. The challenge has been, whether it's governance or it's the administrative aspect of this, is that how we braid our federal funding, our local funding, other state funding, other matches with our social services department, H3S, is different than it is in Multnomah County, of course, and different than it is in Washington County. So my concern has been, and I shared this with our Councilor Lewis, who I strongly deeply respect, that hopefully that there's this new structured committee will be cognizant of the nuances of how we do that as efficiently as we do. And no one can understand how to do things in-house better than us, and we are trying to use those monies as efficiently. So if it's goal-oriented and the metrics are there, the measurements are there, hopefully people, again, on this committee will recognize the unique structures within the counties and how we administer and maximize efficiently how those services and dollars are braided together with the SHS dollars to do as efficient a job as possible in this crisis. So hats off to all of you, and I hope again that this new structure works out better than what we currently have.
Thank you,
Any other
Commissioner.
comments?
If I may jump in, if that's okay, I just want to appreciate what you said. I also want to take my hat off to Clackamas, pretty much starting from zero, and you all have housed 1,500 people from homelessness. I know the point in time count is increasing, and I just want to say that the staff at Clackamas have done a tremendous job working with folks to build up the infrastructure to ensure that folks are being placed out of homelessness into shelter and into housing permanently as fast as possible. And then to put a finer point on what you just said, my hope is that we can get decent role clarity with this new committee. And my commitment always will be from Metro to come with humility, and respect the actions that local jurisdictions are taking to solve the problems in service of regional goals. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, Liam, thank you for that. I really appreciate word for word what you just said. I mean, that means a lot, and I think that we have to be open-minded if we're going to solve again this human crisis or try to make a dent in this crisis that we're all facing. So, on behalf of C4 and members of this, thank you for your presentation, both Alice and Liam. Thank you so much. Anything else? Okay, Jamie, what's next?
Yeah, really quick and big thank you to Alice and Liam. They were incredibly accommodating to come today. And this is a strange meeting in that you're getting the information before the Metro Policy Committees are. So thank you for accommodating our informational needs. I also want to accommodate you. That was an incredibly fast and concise presentation.
Great. Okay, so thanks again, and we will move on and get back to our TPAC updates from Jeff Owen and Will Farley.
Promoting over now. And given the timing, Mr. Farley has had to step out of the meeting. Apologies.
Understood.
Good morning, C4 Metro. Jamie, do we also have Will online here?
No, apologies. Mr. Farley had to step out.
Sure, no problem. So good morning, everyone. Jeff Owen, Clackamas County, serving as your TPAC rep for the county. So TPAC, again, the technical work group that supports JPACT, so mostly all transportation topics. So we recently met on January 9th, just recently, and we covered two major items at the last meeting. One, the first item was what you just covered earlier today, the TriMet budget service cuts proposal and the outreach process. So you've already spent a good bit of time on that. So won't go over that again. As Jamie clarified in the question, TriMet is accepting all that feedback through the end of the month. So definitely want to encourage all of you to share with your staff, with your team, with anyone you know of interested to get that feedback in. They did present as well at CTAC, the technical support group for this body in C4, and really stressed that it is a draft proposal and they are trying to listen and be responsive. The second major item that TPAC covered on January 9th was a Metro program called the Data Resource Center, the DRC, sometimes people refer to. It is the region's shared hub for data, maps, analytical tools that support all of the planning and policy decisions. So if that name is new, there is a link in your packet in the brief TPAC report that you can click and access lots of different information, or again, kind of pass along to your staff. We are happy to help if there's anything we can do to coordinate or help share anything that's there, but that is owned and kind of maintained by Metro. So just want to make sure to make that mention. It's a lot of great information from safety, just mapping of all the features within the Metro boundary. So we use that at the county for some of our data and want to make sure that's just a coordination tool that's out there for everybody interested. So finally, I'll just mention that an upcoming topic of interest for TPAC is really going to be starting to, in March, dig in deeper to the Metro-led Regional Transportation Plan, the RTP. That's a document that all the entities within the Metro boundary also look to coordinate with and have projects and plans reflected in that regional RTP. So that is just getting kicked off here soon in March, and it's a multi-year effort with a adoption target of November 2028. So not wanting to speak too much for Metro, but just want to make sure that's an effort that gets a lot of attention. So that is starting off soon. And it is a kickoff workshop that's available for all staff everywhere. Of course, any of you if you wish, but all staff, everybody's welcome to kind of attend that interactive workshop. And Metro will lay out the program ahead for updating the RTP. So with that, I'll just kind of pause and see if there's any questions before we tackle our next TPAC meeting topic would be early February, February 6th. Any
Okay, great. Thank you, Jeff. The question I have with regard to the RTP, and I just want to point this out, not necessarily for discussion today, but fodder for maybe future conversations and calculations. I've been through some RTP processes over the last too long decades or two or three decades of being around um, in this region, and I know that the RTP is both aspirational and has some ideals in there, and I think it's fair to say that without an efficient transit system, we will not accomplish any of our climate goals, any of our transportation goals without an efficient transit system. Not unlike any other linkage, whether it's bike, ped, and obviously our freeways and our roads and highways, our networks and so forth. So all of it's important, but in the crisis, in the financial crisis that we're currently facing, I'm just this is not just a conversation for the metro region, but statewide and maybe nationally, obviously to some degree. If there is somewhat of an implosion, or let's just say politely, contraction in transit service, how do we actually meet our climate goals? How do we actually meet all of this? And I'm a systems thinker. I've always been a systems thinker, so I don't really like to parse out and look at things in isolation. We have to look at things collectively. And I think that's the responsibility of both all of us, Metro and the RTP, to look at that. So I'm just putting that out there. No response needed, but we're not expanding, and we're contracting, and that's a red flag.
Yeah, I briefly would say that is also on the radar of many different kind of staff around the whole region within our county as well as around the region. And I don't want to speak for Councilor Lewis's kind of project at Metro, but yes, I think going into it, there are a lot of really tough questions ahead of the full region and the state, as you mentioned, for kind of funding of many different topics. So appreciate that.
You bet. You bet. Okay, we're short on time, and now we're going to go to our MTAC staff, Jamie Stasny and Laura Turway, for the MTAC updates.
Good morning, everyone. Jamie Stasny, Transportation and Land Use Policy Manager at Clackamas County. I think you just get me today. Just really quickly, I know we're short on time. Wanted to share at our last MTAC meeting, we talked about Safe Streets for All, as well as the Community Connector Transit Study, which I believe you've heard a presentation on several times. As we're looking forward to our next meeting, we are meeting next week, January 21st. Agenda is not out yet, but I anticipate conversations about the functional plan annual compliance report, the 2040 growth concept report card, as well as the distributed forecast conversation, an introduction to that. So that is the highlights of what we're looking at MTech. Thank you.
Oh, well, that was short and sweet. Thank you, Jamie. Jamie Stasny. I'm sorry, Jamie Lorenzini. I did it again. My apologies.
I'm telling you, we've actually joked about getting matching jackets. Um, Jamie, I think you just brought up the foresight training for the Future Vision Commission. Can you remind me when their next meeting is and where?
Oh, thank you, Jamie. I did not bring that up, but the Future Vision Commission is meeting in Clackamas County. That meeting is going to be happening, I believe it's tomorrow, Thursday at 5 p.m. at DSB. Let me double check that time. Sorry, I didn't have that up on my calendar. Oh, is that 4? Thanks, Jamie. Yes, it's at 4 p.m. DSB 115. The public is welcome from 4 to 6 p.m. Come meet the Future Vision Committee and celebrate them having a meeting in Clackamas County. Thanks, Jamie.
And for folks that are less familiar with the DSB, that is the Development Services Building here in Clackamas County on campus, near where we have your in-person C4 meetings.
Yes, yes. And I will not be able to attend that. I will be attending the TriMet um, uh, meeting with elected officials. John, Sarah, what time is that tomorrow afternoon?
We've got one today at noon, Commissioner, and one tomorrow at 5. I think you're signed up for both.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be at the one tomorrow. I have a conflict today, so I'll be at the one tomorrow.
Okay. Look forward to
So,
seeing you there.
so great, great. Commissioner Helm.
I'll be there tomorrow at the DSB at 4 o'clock.
Okay,
Wouldn't miss
great.
it.
Sounds like the commission's got it covered.
Yes.
All right. Well, we have a few minutes, so we're, I guess, ahead of schedule, or did I miss something, Jamie?
Really small update. Just wanted to flag for all of the elected officials here that at the end of your C4 Metro packets, both Team TPAC and Team MTAC include short updates in written form. These are one page front and back that can be carried into your policy level meetings. And big thank you to Jamie Stasny. These reports are produced through her team with Adam Torres and Becca. So thank you, Jamie, and big thank you to your staff.
Okay, great. Because we have a couple minutes, and I'm going to call this a crisis, and I'm going to ask Councilor Lewis if she could, because I know there's no one here from Metro, the work that not TriMet, the work that Metro Council has done for transit with the shuttle analysis and that local connectors program. How do you see that weaving into? I'm looking for a bright light of how we solve some of our problems. So, Councilor Lewis, could you just opine perhaps, or tell us what you foresee as how we kind of help Clackamas County at least, or this region through this crisis?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to give some bright light. I don't know if I'm normally the person who is the optimist on this topic. When you take a giant step back, the ways in our country of funding transit are pretty much twofold. Sales tax and gas tax. And because of constitutional restriction of gas tax, that's not an option here. And because of lack of sales tax, that's not an option here. So that's why we are so dependent on these very fragile funding mechanisms that don't scale the same way that a penny increase on either of those other two taxes can actually produce a lot. So it's a TriMet problem because it is a service district that serves nearly half the state, but it's not a TriMet problem because I was down in the legislature next to the head of the Tillamook Transit Agency yesterday, who's facing the same thing. He literally knows the names of the 10 people that his bus used to take to dialysis that he's no longer going to get to take to dialysis. So it's a much more intimate level of cut that they're doing there, but they hurt just as bad. There will be, I believe, a task force coming out of the legislature, which normally I think a task force bill is something I roll my eyes at. But I do hope that this one looks at how bad our revenue source challenge is and gets us another source instead of just continuing to amp up the one source we have. That's a longer term hope. I think in the mid and shorter term, I do think that the work that we're doing, particularly around what a Clackamas specific shuttle program could look like, would give us a good opportunity for where the next best dollar could be spent. So when we are out of cut and into stabilization and eventually add back in, when we had the 2017 money add back in or add new, we were just drawing lines all over the place, but the same sort of lines. And I think what these studies are going to show is when we're adding the next dollar, its frequency, its quality of service. So that goes beyond just the fact that the bus shows up. It's that the bus shows up reliably and the bus shows up clean and safe. And TriMet's taking good steps there, but I think that's the kind of work that we need to continue.
Yeah, thank you, Counselor, for that. I don't have the answer, and I think we're all struggling to figure out how we do that. And I'm sure that we're all aware that many of the jurisdictions that are sitting here represented, whether you're the city of Wilsonville or the city of Milwaukee or wherever we are, we're all facing financial challenges with the inflation and cost outpacing revenues. And so therefore, we're going to have to think differently and be more nimble. And yet, the some of these goals that we have, I think we're going to have to, I won't say revisit our goals, but my concerns about the RTP is what we can practically do and how maybe we prioritize things a little bit differently. I think that was my concern in the last round of the RTP is that, how we actually connect and make sure that the dollars being spent are prioritized and we had measurements and metrics. And so I'm hoping we can look at it a little bit differently, a different paradigm than the current paradigm, and recognize that this is a time of crisis and we're going to have to think differently. Lots said. Councilor Baumgartner.
Thank you. I'll just briefly add that I think this is an opportunity for all of us because I guess often we need to be at the wall before we rise to the occasion. And I agree exactly with what you were saying, Commissioner Savas, about systems. We need to look at this at systems. And I come from a background in public education. So chronic underfunding, public education, chronic underfunding of transit and accessibility. And we all need to advocate for the people who rely on these systems. And so I'm looking for at this as an opportunity to do that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. There's something that has come up, and I think that, again, thinking outside the box, we've got these networks and systems of school buses and transportation. And what if there was some kind of an intermixing that could be done safely to capitalize on in finding efficiencies on going down the same streets in the same areas and moving people. I think we can think differently and be more creative, but again, it's going to take a major paradigm shift to have those kind of conversations. Well, it's been great. We're right at the hour. Anything else for the good of the order? Thank you all for a great discussion today, and we'll see you next time.